Sometimes having fun is the most responsible thing you can do. The new Volvo S60 plug-in hybrid. For the road, for the planet.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is BFM Enterprises Back to Business webinar series. This is the fourth installment in the series, and just to know, we are also streaming on YouTube as well as Facebook. So if you're having issues on Facebook, you can also head over to youtube.com/BFMVDO, as in the letters VDO. So join us there if Facebook Live isn't working for you. But today in the fourth installment of the Back to Business webinar, it is presented to you by Volvo Cars, redefining freedom to move in a personal, sustainable, and safe way. Our topic today is all about HR's balancing act. Working from home obviously has become a mass reality for the world in the blink of an eye, bringing with it a variety of new challenges that businesses are struggling to grasp. So this session is going to dive into the HR processes of growth, evaluation, performance, and hiring and firing in a COVID-19 work environment. Of course, I am not alone. Joining me today are my wonderful speakers. We first have Vicks Kanagasingam. He is the CEO of Xperanti IoT. Hi, Vicks.
Hi, afternoon, Christine. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, great. And our second panelist of the day is Dato Hamidah Naziadin from CIMB, currently Group HR Advisor there.
Hi, Christine. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for joining on the webinar today. So before we get stuck in, for anyone that's watching, do post your questions on the Facebook comment section or the YouTube chat as well. We will answer them accordingly, and hopefully we will be able to give you guys some insights into some HR questions and curiosities that you have. So let's jump into the first question. Let's take a bit of a general start. What have been some of the biggest changes in terms of managing people that you both have faced over the last 6 months in your respective companies? Let's start with Vicks.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, let me say this. With the current situation, the work from home, there's no playbook for the work from home with the current environment. I mean, the work from home methodology or the formulas that everyone's been using for the last 100 years, it does not apply. So there was so many uncertainty. It was a challenge for the team. We didn't know, okay, working from what's next, where are we going to go, unable to meet the client, unable to meet the teammates. It was a challenge. So we went through a lot of those changes. We had to really understand. So we turned it around and we started looking at individuals and seeing how we can support the talent. So let me just give you a bit of a situation. So when we started the first MCO, the first week, so I said, guys, come in on a Monday call and a Friday call. In between, we have the project sessions, teams, they have their own calls. The first 2 weeks was fine, but the second week on Friday, I could feel the people were very concerned, uncertain, the questions. So then we came up with this thing called GAP, Guardian Angel Program, where everyone will talk to someone for an hour every day and nothing about work. All right? We ran that throughout the MCO, and one big change we saw was when the team came back, they were more united and knew each other so well. They knew who plays the drum, who likes playing Lego, and who can cook. It was awesome. We took that situation and turned it around. So credit goes to my team that put this together. There was a big change in the culture of the organization, and I think the most important is constant communication. We had to constantly communicate, and I, as the CEO, I had to tell the team we need to acknowledge the situation today. All right, we have an issue, and we need to keep the momentum going.
Right? I love that that concentrated effort at that level of personal communication and connection. I think that was so important as well throughout the MCO. How about you, Dr. Hamidah? What are some of the biggest changes in terms of managing people you encountered over the past 6 months?
Okay, so just to give a little bit of context for CIMB, we have 35,000 employees across the region, and we are in a service industry. So during the MCO, we still have to keep part of our business open, especially the customer-facing ones. So for us, the challenge was who has to go to office and who works from home. So what we did was, okay, we said, all right, we need to make sure at the end of the day, staff look at it that we are taking care of their well-being. We want to make sure that they are safe at all times. So what we quickly did was we came up with a plan where we carve out, it's only people who are, say, for example, women, pregnant women, women with young children, or families with the vulnerable age group. These are the ones who will then work from home. So we have, in that sense, a roster, a rotation for people then to work from home and as well as to work from office. And so that was an immediate challenge that we have, because we need to make sure that we continue to provide our services to the public. But when I reflect on your questions and looking back, there are challenges. I would say that there are three main areas in terms of challenges that we have to put up with. And one is, as Vicks you mentioned a little bit, and that is to that culture and mindset of that remote working. So that was actually quite a challenge, because what we need to do is to then very quickly change the emphasis, shift the emphasis on output versus presence. So if they are not in the office, they are working from home, we have to measure them on the output. So that was the first one. So adjusting to that culture, adjusting to that mindset of remote working. Then the second one, again, you touch on that, is that sustainable employee engagement, where people still feel connected. That emotional connection is so important. You are apart, yet you want to make sure that they are together, right? And to maintain that momentum of the culture that we are trying to build. So that was the challenge. So we come up with lots of activities to make sure people still have that emotional attachment to each other, to the department and to the organization, and of course to the customers. And the third one, quite a real challenge, is this digital readiness of our people. As I said, 35,000 across the region, everyone has varying degrees of digital literacy. All right, so you can imagine you want to get everybody to work together, and then you have teams, we have different levels of understanding or comfort on digital platforms. So these were the challenges that we faced with, and in the first 6 months when we started the MCO.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think those are really interesting areas to explore. And I do want to touch on the work from home situation first, because I think that was the most, obvious transition for many, many companies. And there have been a lot of surveys that have said employees would rather work from home rather than go back to the office full time. Dato Hamidah, you were mentioning that that was a massive process for you to navigate how to implement working from home for CIMB. So tell me a little bit more about the work from home measures there. Was it a stopgap, or have you sort of absorbed it as a long-term option?
Okay, this work from home, thankfully for us, it's not so much of an alien concept to us, because actually I started this earlier. But what we did as part of our flexible work arrangements, what we did was with staff who have young kids and all that, we allowed them to work from home 1 day per week. So that was how we started it. And the intention at that time was that if it works out well, the infrastructure, and how we assess them and all that stuff works, then we wanted to expand it to a more permanent basis, to a larger pool of our workforce. But you know what? When we have MCO and everybody was forced into it, and you have more situations like that, surprisingly, we have now more people who have actually come forward to say that from home is not really their cup of tea. It can be quite disruptive, they feel. And in what they really miss out is that connection, that interaction, that collaboration with the colleagues, So what we are doing now is working on an ensemble of policies that hopefully can support flexibility. I think what we need to do is one that allows both work from office and work from home, that flexibility, but allowing the employees to have a say to determine where and how the work gets done. It's something I feel is more important rather than just, there you go, everybody work from home. No, you're missing out a lot. In fact, if I can just expand a little bit, I think the young ones, I worry for the new entrants, or those newcomers, or those who have just been in the firm for 1 year or 2 years, because for them, they don't see their bosses, right? They don't see their colleagues. They're not sure whether are they on the right track. And then sometimes you just want to mingle a little bit, get some advice and all that. And that is all kind of really missing. And if you fast forward this, I think you might actually see a little bit, that emotional connection that is lost. At the end of the day, you may not be able to actually pull people together, glue them together. And I feel that, it's not so easy to retain these people because they don't have that connection with the firm. So I'm somebody I would rather go for both, work from home and also work from office.
Okay, what's your take, Vicks?
I mean, I do agree with Dato Hamidah, most of the points you mentioned about work from home. For us, I've always had this culture. I'm more of outcome based. It's not about how many hours you put in. It's about outcome, measurable, KPIs, very clear. For me, it's not about you coming in at 9, leaving at 6. It's all about results. It's always been the culture that we have in the organization. We have a flexi-hour program, and we have a work-from-home program from day one, where some of the guys, we travel throughout the country. They come back at night. They get in home. They work from home in the morning. They can come in whenever they need. So it's been a culture for us normally. Now, the MCO, absolutely, I agree with Dato Hamidah. Everyone talk about let's all just cut costs, let's all work from home. No. In the beginning, because of so much uncertainty, people were trying to find a way to work together. All right. So there was a need. And we use all the technical tools, the Zoom, the Booms, and whatever, Skype, Team, and try to get this. After a while, you realize I need to see this person, I need to smack him or put him on the wall and go through. The human interaction was so important. All right, even with the client, the customer, the confidence of what we are doing. So all my guys wanted to come back to work. They're like, "Hey, Vicks, can you sign this letter with the police?" I said, "No, hold on. We wait for the MCO to be lifted," because they didn't want to come back. They just wanted to be with a team, right? At the same token, because we had this work from home concept in the beginning, if some of them are married, they got kids, young kids, they need to send them to school. We are very flexible. It's all back about results. You need to be contactable. So we have that philosophy from day one. Everyone knows that. So I think working from home permanently, any company says, I'm going to do WFH 365 days, you're bound to collapse. Penny wise, pound foolish. You might save some money, but you're going to collapse as a long-term business.
All right. We have a question from Facebook from Kenny, who asks, the COVID-19 and various versions of MCO have adversely affected a large majority of businesses. Morale is low with layoffs, salary cuts, and the like. How can companies do the delicate act of balancing between having to cut costs to stay afloat, thus impacting on aiming other things, like people development and growth, and also motivating talents to keep them engaged and committed? So I guess to sum that up, it's how do you balance having to cut costs but also motivating your staff at the same time? Vicks, maybe you can start with that.
I like that, Christine. You gave me the tough question to do first. Okay. So it's really, let me say this: when MCO hit, everyone around us, companies were straight away cost cutting. Headcount reduction immediately, cut people's salary immediately. We did not do that. I felt that we had a core team. We need to build the team. We need to keep the morale up because there's so much uncertainty. This is not the subprime issue in 2008. This is not the 1998 financial crisis where you knew this was something out of the norm. No playbook. I go back again. We cannot follow the old rules and apply it immediately. So we were very careful. At the same token, let's be honest, not many people know how to work from home. All right? That requires self-discipline. You can't just turn the clock. Prime Minister announced on the next day you're going to work from home. Boom, everyone. It's not. It's self-discipline. So there's a lot of working with the team, building the morale and saying, listen. So I go back to my question, a lot of communication. Now, there is the need to cut costs, absolutely. So we looked at all our numbers, so we find every dollar you save it's important for the company, all right? We can stretch it out. So while things are going, I always tell myself, it's something I've done before. I rather keep the team and reduce the salary, cut the salary. So we did that recently, and my objective was to keep the team. So I said, okay, guys, you want to keep the team, and so everyone said, we are fine. Let's just cut salary, keep the team going, and let's come back together. So it's a lot of communication. This is where leaders must come in. Actually, you have to be genuine of the situation. Guys, we are having a problem. This is the issue. How can get feedback from your relevant senior leadership team? Okay, what can we do? Listen to them. Go to the ground. Turun padang. Doesn't mean your CEO is not. I don't have a problem. HR go sort it out. You go sort it out. Finance go sort it. No, you have to go down. They want to see the leader. All right, and you must answer the tough questions, and you have to be honest. If you don't know, say don't know. All right. So I told my guys. So we have to really be honest, and that's what people want to. Generally, everybody wants to know that. So that indirectly motivates the team, and everyone says, okay, let's work together. We have to be very focused where we spend our time. So time was also money. So we started qualifying our processes. Okay, what do we do first, and kind of thing. So everyone started, and I said this whole thing fast track our business transformation. All right, we took advantage of transform our business. Right. So answering the question, it's very delicate. Absolutely right. It's all boils down to the leader and the culture that you have in the organization. If you had a very strong leader and the culture is good, during these times you can manage crisis. All right. If you don't have a strong leadership, the culture is bad. During this crisis, it's like football. All right. I love football. When you're losing 2-0 first half, I'm a Liverpool fan. Anyone out there? I'm a Liverpool fan. All right. The second half, it's how the leader comes back and says, guys, so what? We're 2 down. We need to work together and come back. All right. If you have a strong culture of wanting to move forward, work together, you will see the results end of the day.
Awesome. All right. How about you, Dato Hamidah, especially since CIMB is on a larger scale?
I think we need more employers like Vicks.
For sure. I
agree with you. These layoffs and all that should really be the last resort. I don't think we should just immediately, if you have a crisis, that's the first thing we should do. And when you mentioned, Vicks, about crisis, the financial crisis, it just reminded me of what we have actually done. In 2008, right, that when we had the financial crisis, what we did was we turned that crisis into an opportunity for us to rethink some policy to help the staff. So we came up with this staff rejuvenation program, SRP. Until today, it's our most popular program around for people. All right. Now, but as what the word suggests, rejuvenate, because at that time during the crisis, you could go for holidays, packages were so cheap and all that. So we said, okay, we allow employees to take up to 6 months off, so-called to rejuvenate yourself. But during these 6 months, we assure you, when the whole thing ends, when you come back, the job is still there for you. Your job grade, your salary, everything remains unchanged. Yes, it is a form of no pay leave, but that helps the staff, right? Because they know, it gives them the security that there is something for them. We didn't go for pay cuts or whatever. We turned that crisis into an opportunity. And the message is, bad times do not last. At the end of the day, you still need the skills of these people. You still need the experiences that they have when the situation recovers. So think of some stopgap measures, think of some temporary measures to help them and to help the firm. So when we have the staff rejuvenation program, when they took that no pay leave, then it works for us because there's no extra cost. We saved on cost. Of course, we definitely need to tighten our belts in whatever way that we can. So that worked out very well for us. But at the same time, we give them that assurance that, when the whole thing ends, the job is still there for you. So that was how we went about, and morale wasn't affected. Okay, people took that opportunity. They said, yeah, actually, I can't go on leave, before this, when we were all so busy, this is my chance. They did what they wanted to do, on with their family, go for holidays. And then when everything, recovers, as I said, bad times don't last. I'm an eternal optimist. When they come back, it's then back to normal. So I agree really with you, Vicks. We should really, as far as possible, all these layoffs and all that should be really, really the last resort.
I love that. I really, really enjoy that approach to turning crisis, as you mentioned, into an opportunity. We have another question from Facebook from our very own Frida Liu. How often should we communicate with staff? Is it quality or quantity? For example, town halls or more one-on-ones? Dato Hamidah, let's start with you first for this one.
Yep, sure. I think you need a mixture because you are dealing with people who actually you need to reach out to different people with different ways of have different ways of actually understanding. Some if you have town halls, it works for them. Some you need one-to-one to spend a little bit more time with them. But whatever it is, that communication must always be transparent. It must always be honest. And the communication between where is your leader, the CEO, right down to the manager, it must be aligned. So you don't want it to be CEO say one thing, other HR head say some other thing, then your immediate manager say other things. So that script of that message is actually very important. And you have to be open about it, like what Victor mentioned. Be honest, be transparent. And in terms of frequency, a lot of it depends on how often the messages that you need to act on. Like at that time when we needed to keep our branches open, right? Then we needed to have more frequent communication. But after a while, then when things are already kind of like the machinery is really working, then we reduce it, because otherwise too much is also can be, the people will feel, wow, it's so overwhelming already. They're adjusting, to the new way of working. And communication need not be long. Sometimes it's just short, quick ones, and it's good enough. Even during my time, what I did was I needed to reach out to my people, but even if it's a simple message, what I then did was I did the voice message for them, and I got my team to then disseminate it to everyone. So it could be just a simple thing like that. So we just have to then adjust it according to the needs of the employees, and which is the most effective way.
Right. I think you brought up some really great points there. Consistency, transparency, absolutely. How about you, Vicks? What's your take on the communication?
I'll just add on to what Dato Hamidah said. For me, communication is important. Town hall sessions. For me, it's two things. What are you going to say, and how are you going to say it? All right. So when you have a town session, you must be very clear what is the objective you want to achieve and how you're going to communicate this message out. So if you have a concern, you have to raise it. I have a concern. You're confident. People are looking up to you on a town hall session. So it's very important to do the what and the how. Now the frequency, like I agree with Dato Hamidah, it depends on organization and stuff. Now during crisis, suddenly you have too many. They all start to panic. What is this? My boss talking to me every time. What's going on? All right. So when you have the what and the how, your what must be very clear. I'm giving an update, guys. Okay, this is where we've been last week. This is where we're going, and where I see next week. What's your feedback? Bang, bang, bang. Very clear. It should be short, clear. Then you must have a session for Q&A. All right. And for me, it's very important. The other thing that's so important that you don't have to have for a crisis, that every leader in your organization must be the best observers. They should be observing the team, not even talking, just observing the team. They should know, I think this guy needs a one-to-one chit-chat. All right. The problem with leaders today is all about numbers, and they're not good observers. They don't even listen. You need to observe. Sometimes you can actually learn a lot by just observing your team, how they walked in, how they look, what they're saying. So I always encourage my leadership team to have one-to-one. Don't have lunch alone. All right. Take one of your teammates. All right. Sit down, have a chit chat. This is a time to, what's going on kind of thing. So the one-to-one is more powerful than a town hall session. All right. And I think it's very important that everyone in the organization, you don't have to be a leader to actually be a good observer. You can actually help your colleague. Hey, what's going on, mate? Let's go have some lunch. Oh, we're together. So you don't wait for your boss to actually sort it out. Everyone is actually a leader to step up and support each other. So the culture must be very, very important. That don't wait for me to say we have a problem or sort it out.
Gotcha. Yeah, love that shared responsibility as well. Okay, we have another question here on Facebook from Audrey Raj. Performance appraisals for 2020 is not going to be an easy task. What should we be looking at when evaluating staff and colleagues this year? How do we be fair to those who have struggled with work this year, either mentally, emotionally, physically, etc.? I think we'll start with Vicks for this one.
I love you, Christine. I love you. You give me all the tough questions. Audrey, maybe she just had lunch. She's giving me the tough question now. It's got a lot of things. Okay, this is actually a very tough question. So when we had the MCO, I'll just tell you a bit. So we had the MCO, we had our own company KPI. So we have 80% company performance, 20% individual and division. All right, it was very clear, 80-20. When I do a startup, it's always 20-80, the other way around, 20% company and then 80% employees. As we reach a certain level, we swap it. This year, I think we come to a situation where I will look at the whole thing 100% company performance plus is the 20% actually 80% company, 20% is actually what each individual have learned a new skill, what improvement you have done in this last 1 year for yourself, for your department, for your processes, what new skills that you have learned that will become valuable for the organization and yourself in 2021. All right. So I think that's where we are going to go, which we already started. We have started some online training programs for the team to start going online, doing some courses on their own, empowering them. And end of the year, we'll say, okay, what new stuff did you learn and how can we help you in your career? All right. So that is where I will look at 80% performance, the company, great, what's happening, doing, but 20% is now inside out.
Gotcha. Dato Hamidah, anything to add?
Yeah, okay. I'll probably just add to say that definitely the 2020 objectives is all really out of reach and probably even irrelevant, right? So if I look at 2020, how do I want to appraise the employees? Employees, first and foremost, definitely is outcome-based, okay? It's not on processes anymore, and it should not be just on KPIs and business related. I feel that during this time, people who are very innovative, who are very creative, if they come up with those ideas to cheer each other up, to do the extra for the customers or whatever, how resourceful they are. These are the areas I think we should actually reward them and measure them. And yes, Vicks, is very good when you give online training, and ask them to actually pick up a new skill and all that. But if I want to actually expand on this, is I think that this opportunity, this pandemic, also gives us a chance to test and appraise leadership. Because leadership during good times is so easy. Everything is right. But during a crisis, how do leaders, turn problems into opportunities? And I'm not just talking about CEO. It could be just your head, your manager and all that. How do they? Is the self-leadership that they show? How do they, show that they take charge in crisis? How do they reach out to their staff, their customers? How do they garner the whole team? How do they navigate the storm? How do they steer them? How do they continue to cheer them up, give them hope? How do they lead, not from the head, but from the heart? So this time, this crisis is an opportunity for us to we can really assess what effective leadership is all about. So 2020, I think, gives us a chance to really measure people, assess people differently from different angles. So just want to add to what you have said.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
We'll get some new rock stars in the industry. Absolutely.
Yeah,
because
for
sure. For leadership, we say, okay, who are the leaders? We want to assess them. You build the scenario, case study and all that stuff. Right now, you don't need,
Yeah.
before you a real situation, a real case study, So how can we navigate the team? How they can, steer them in the right direction? How do they reach out to the customers? All these are so important. This is the way to appraise, and I think that's what 2020 appraisal should be all about.
Perfect.
Fantastic. We've got another question from Facebook here from Sue Young Kwe, who says training the employees for these new virtual working skills would be necessary. So how often, I guess, should the training sessions be, and what are the skills you deem essential? Okay, Vicks, let's throw this over to you first for a change.
To me? Okay.
This again, okay.
Yeah. Thoughts on virtual training, maybe?
Let me say this. Let me say this. Okay, let me just put some context to the question. Everyone talks about training, all right? This is a time to upskill, reskill. I tell all these guys, listen, do you know employees been in the company for last 10 years, 15 years, never learned anything? They have no training. They know the why. I need to upskill because I need to keep my job. I know what I need to do, what to study, but we're missing the how. We're missing how to upskill and reskill. And everyone's different. Some guys who just come out of the uni, pump 2-3 years, okay, I can still keep the momentum. Some guys are like, mate, I don't even know how to use this thing. Why am I doing this? But I know I have to do it. But how to learn? I think that's a missing part, not about virtual working skills. How do you come up with a program? Whoever's doing training out there, listen, don't talk about the what, don't talk about the why. Everyone knows that. How do you reskill someone? And the skill is, how do you teach someone to learn? All right? And that's so important. And based on that, then you look at you talk about new virtual working skills, worthy business. It's already there. You're already communicating with your friends. We are the most high-tech society today in the world. You're already communicating with your friends virtually today on WhatsApp. It's there. And that's the beauty of it. If we had the COVID-19 in 1995, 98, we would have a major crisis. All right? And because we were so high-tech, thanks to people like me in the telecom industry, made the world a better place, okay, gave you all internet and broadband, you could actually survive this COVID-19 because you already assimilated to the communication skills, all right? So virtual working was already happening. WhatsApp group, this group, that group, we're already chatting videos. So it's already there. So I think the skills there is how I go back to key thing. I always say self-leadership. If you want to be one of the guys who can work remotely and virtually, you must have self-leadership. Okay, mind, body in your environment. So important.
Gotcha. How about you, Dato Hamidah? Do you have anything to add to what Vicks has said today?
Okay, I'll just add on from the banking angle since I cannot lose out to Vicks, right? I must give a little bit about my banking.
Sure, yes, please.
So for banking, I mean, banking today is no longer about transaction anymore, right? Because I'm sure you don't go to the banks just to do transactions, but it's the whole customer experience that we are looking at, right? We are now selling to you customer experience. So even before COVID, we were already preparing for it. Fourth IR, as we all know it. Machines are coming, robots and all that, right? But yes, the machines, as I said, are very clever. Robots are so good. But behind all this is the people. Right? We need the people to work alongside with all these machines. So we therefore need to equip our people with the right skill set. So we came up with 3 types of skill sets, digital skill sets. So we need to look at the processes. In terms of processes, what is it that we can automate, we can digitize, So for example, we came up with processing loans, right? Those days, if you were to apply for a mortgage loan or what, sometimes you may need about 3-4 weeks to have it approved. But once we've automated that, taken away that manual processing, you can even do it within 1 minute now because you have that inbuilt algorithm to do all the calculations for you. So swipe your card, swipe your IC, and that's it, within 1 minute. So the whole digital skills is necessary. And data is so important, right? With data, you can see a lot and you can actually come up with customized solutions and the real offerings, the more targeted offerings for your customers. And design thinking, that design is as I said today, is not about transaction. It's about designing that whole customer experience. So we call it 3D. Digital, data, and design thinking. So we even set up a 3D academy, carve out a certain budget for it, make it compulsory for all the employees to go through the very basic. At least they have the foundation, so they understand what is IoT, what is AI, and all that stuff. Okay, then after that, depending on what they want to do, and then they learn. But you know what? Whatever skills that you actually provide for them, what is important is that they must be able to apply it. It is no point if you go and sign up for all the courses, wow, there's a lot available out there. But if you're unable to apply it, then it defeats the purpose. So it must be both. You learn and you're able to apply it. And then you're really making full use of it.
Very nice. We have a question on Facebook about mental health. So mental health and morale have been impacted due to the pandemic. What can companies do to empower and look after their employees in these aspects? Dato Hamidah, can you maybe start with this one?
Wow, Vicks, you are laughing because now it's my turn now. Okay, this mental health and this morale. All right. For Singapore, for example, CIMB, my Singapore colleagues were actually reaching out, and they were saying that actually they do need help. So for that, those that are real cases where they need to reach out for professional help, what we have done is actually engage some psychologists and all that to help them out. But over here, what I've actually done here is that instead of really using psychologists, and whilst of course if they need, there's always available. But I feel that all this mental health and morale issue, what we can do is also involve the staff to help others. If you involve them to contribute and to help others, I feel that we are able to create a stronger sense of community and unity. And when you create that stronger sense of community and unity in them, I feel that there is their way of us strengthening their mental, their mental, and that's how I would like to kind of like address it. Now, for morale issue would be, when we first had the pandemic, as a firm, we need to go out there and tell the employees, we are with you, we care for you, your well-being is important to us. So immediately we give them financial help for those who are diagnosed with COVID. And likewise, for their family and all that. But what we have done is we took the extra step to infect their homes too. All right. So when we did that, we gave them a peace of mind so that they can focus on nursing themselves and getting better. So straight away, that's what we did. So I think that was how that was one of the few things that we did to ensure that, to keep the morale going, especially if you're diagnosed with COVID. And of course, likewise, if they have the vulnerable age group for their parents with in age 60 and above, we also did a lot of stuff for them, absorbing a lot of cost, medical expenses and all that for them. So again, it's walking with them, walking alongside with them. So I think that morale will be able to help them. And then next is involving them in a lot of activities to help and contribute. So we identify projects. Everyone was coming out to help those needy people, those daily wage income earners. These are the people who really need help out there. Okay, so when they realize actually out there are a lot of people, all they need is just to put food on the table. All right, so we bought groceries for them and all that. When you involve people, I feel that was how we combat this so-called morale and health and mental health issues.
Right, it's basically just providing a support system and a community for them to turn to, I guess. All right, Vicks, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, just to add, I think we have to acknowledge the mental health issue is a growing pandemic on its own. Not only COVID-19 started. I've been around. I've been in companies where it's all about leadership and the culture. There are a lot of people coming to work with an expectation. I think the one thing that's missing, organizations or leaders, we have to don't look at people as a function, look at them as a human being. I think keyword is respect. Respect them as a person, and they are not a function. I think it's so important. When I'm engaging with other leaders in the organization, they tell me the issues and what and where they work. It's a culture that builds the mental health issues. So during crises like this, those who have a strong culture, strong support culture, will overcome it more effectively. Those who don't have, they go into a major crisis. And then suddenly you fake the help. They come, let me help you. It's like, you were not there for me when I was around last 5 years ago. Suddenly you're worried, So I think it's very important back to leadership, to respect the organization, the individuals as individuals. They are part of your team, whatever size you are. I agree with Dato Hamidah, get everyone involved. It's not HR function, or it's not the leader's function, everyone's function to come together, support each other. It could be maybe something the mental health is just, they need someone to talk to, all right? To bounce off some concern, because there's so much uncertainty. You turn on your TV, what do you get? All right? So almost 80 to 90% is just fear. All right? And some have certain mental strength, some don't. So we have to acknowledge no one is same. Everyone's unique on their own. So you have to give them the due respect. And this is where in getting everyone involved, I always like the word respect everyone. All right? And it helps.
Gotcha. Right. We are coming to the end of the session, but I have a final question for you guys. How do you think the pandemic and 2020 as a whole is going to affect the guidelines in companies moving forward? Maybe Dato Hamidah, let's start with you for this final question.
So you're talking about in terms of HR guidelines in companies moving forward, right?
Yeah.
I think the guidelines moving forward, the key thing is that I would say is flexibility. Guidelines must allow flexibility where people should be given options, where possible. Today, a lot of things you can actually, as you said, online or whatever, you can now, you have tested, you can work from home and all that, But what is important is give them that flexibility so that they can bring their best selves and do their best work as individuals and as teams. So flexibility is very important. But what is important is also, I think, it must be also facilitative and supportive. Every organization, it is on the timing, the readiness of the firm, and the maturity levels of the people plays a role in that. So I can't just give a broad answer to that, but I think just keep it to flexibility, keep it to it being facilitative and supportive. In other words, allow them to co-design, allow them to co-plan, allow them to co-create something with the organization, and that is how it should be. So we should keep it flexible. So do I work from home or what? We co-plan with them, we co-design with them, measure on output and all that, as I said, output versus presence, how do we do that? So do the whole thing, design it with them, co-design it with them, allow the flexibility, be supportive, and that's how I feel guidelines should be moving forward.
Vicks?
Yeah, for me, I think the future HR, like I said earlier, maybe HR is not a department anymore. HR, it has to be a culture across the organization. Everyone's responsible for everybody. It's not like I want to hire somebody, just pass it to HR. I got a problem signing the HR. It has to be a culture. And I agree with Dato Hamidah, the agility, the ability to be agile in certain side would require everyone to be included. So HR is not a department, it's a culture in the future.
Gotcha, right. Well, we are just about coming to the end of the session, but I do understand we had a couple of Facebook questions that we could not get to, but thank you so much for sending in your questions, and to those who did send in their questions on Facebook, thank you so much for voicing your thoughts so that we could hopefully give you a bit of answers to what you were curious about or what you were concerned about in terms of HR. Really sorry we couldn't get to some of the questions on Facebook, but thank you very much. This is sort of coming up to wrapping up the session for today. I had to obviously also say a massive thanks to our two speakers today who have really contributed and really given some fascinating insights. So we, of course, thank you so much to Vicks Kanagasingam from Xperanti IoT, and also to Dato Hamidah from CIMB as well. And of course, we have to thank our sponsor. So the series of BFM Enterprise Back to Business webinars is presented to you by Volvo Cars, redefining freedom to move in a personal, sustainable, and safe way. This is the end of today's session, but it's not over yet. Upcoming is our 5th installment in the series, Maintain Cash Flow and Longevity. That's happening next Thursday on the 8th of October, again at 1:30 p.m. So do head over to facebook.com, BFM Radio, and youtube.com/BFMVDO. You would like to get those insights next week. And in the Facebook comments, we will have a feedback form link as well, posted in the comment section. Please help us to fill it up so that we know what went well, what maybe not went so well, and how we can improve. It's only 5 questions, so do let us know your thoughts. But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to our panelists and to our sponsor. I've been Christine Wong, and this has been Back to Business here on the BFM Facebook page. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.